Good morning, friends. Thanks for dropping by. Sound's working, so we are going to get started. Look, a new toy. A new toy that I'm going to use on my mobility days. And we can use it to sit on and talk as we get started. Thanks for dropping by. My name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat lots of greens and vegetables predominantly to get all those vital nutrients, fibers, all those good things in that belong in the mix of nutrition. I don't exclude meat or fish, but I minimize it in my diet, or in other words, I try to follow, I think, Michael Pollan's advice. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And I try to hit my protein goals to support my strength, muscle building, sports activities. So that is, and longevity. So that's a balance of having somewhat less protein between 70 and 80 grams on a normal day, and between 80 and 100 grams on an active day. And let's see where that lands us. But in general, I try not to eat too much of anything. I also show up for trainings. I show up for strength training, strength conditioning training with kettlebells. I show up for endurance work, steady state, low intensity, HIIT training, sprints, and mobility, which is what we're going to do today. And we're adding a few exercises to the mobility routine because my shoulder mobility is something that we need to work on. And I now have the Swedish ball, or the balancing ball, so we can now do those exercises. I'm doing this for 2 years in this way. I've been streaming my workouts for a year and a half, give or take. And I've been having a really good time, and the consistency has been paying off. So it is my hope that through these interactions, and if you happen to drop by and watch, please go ahead, say hello or hey in the chat. Let me know that you're there. Ask me any question if you have any question. Hit like, it helps the stream, and maybe if you're interested, go over to my channel and hit subscribe, but at least try to stick around for 1 or 2 minutes of the conversation. I'd appreciate that. It really helps me out. And who knows, maybe there's something in there for you in terms of health, fitness, and longevity. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life throws at me. That means I want to be mobile, be able to move. I want to be strong, be able to carry stuff, and I want to be fit. I want to be able to go the distance or get somewhere very fast if I need to be able to do that. And I want to have a clear and focused mind. And my workout schedule routine, my sleep routine, my food routine, my life routines help me do that and more. So if it's something you're interested in, we can continue that conversation. I'll talk a bit more about why I think this is important as we train. Remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. And a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. All right? There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we are going to have to lift ourselves up. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work, which is why we have gotten started at 7 minutes past 5 a.m. because it is 7 minutes past 5 a.m. where I'm at in the world. And this is the first step in waking up and getting ready for the day. So consistency. I think it's a very important one. And we can ponder that one for a bit, because it's probably the one thing that keeps us from getting any kind of results. Doesn't matter what we show up for. So in sleep, consistency, we get better and better results. If every day of the year we show up at a specific time, interested in trying to get sleep, knowing that 8 hours later we're going to wake up with food, we get better consistency, better results if we consistently show up in how we procure food, how we prepare food, how we manage the amount of foods that we consume, the types of food, and that means it's a balance between saying yes to certain foods that give us energy, nutrients, that support our body in its goal to keep us healthy and fit, and to say no to foods that distract our body from its ambition to keep us healthy and fit, and doing that consistently, not for a week, but not for a month, but for a lifetime. Being consistent in how we show up to move, whether that is daily movement, just general daily activity, and making sure that that is at least 1 hour or more a day, and that is just being active, that is just walking, climbing stairs, cycling, carrying groceries, gardening, moving around, carrying stuff, cleaning up a room by emptying it out. Those kinds of things but being consistent in that movement, being consistent in the sports that we do, showing up every week for the sports and play, the team sport, group sport, tennis, football, hockey, something that keeps us active and healthy and fit, and generally just lets us participate in the challenges that we face, in the physical activity and in the social activity, building that ability to actually stay physically active and engaged, and then also socially active and engaged consistently, right? The same goes for training, the workouts, which is not the same as movements, not the same as sports and play. Training could be a part of sports and play, could be functional to that. But it is not necessarily Right, 2 seconds. Just going to check something. All right, I'm back. Let's just see if the sound's working. Thought I heard one of the kids crying, but everyone is sound asleep. So, and of course, before anything else, taking care of the kids is what I'm here to do. But we're all good. So hey, being consistent, right? That's what we were talking about. Being consistent in showing up for training. And what that means showing up for a training session, once, twice, 3 times a week. Doesn't matter what the activity is. Not just for a week or a month, not for 6 months, but also for more than a year. Because the results lie on the other side of consistency, okay? And I think we want to believe that fads and tricks and quick fixes are going to help us solve the challenges we have in health, fitness, and longevity. But the truth is that that is just simply not the case, right? we are not going to be able to walk our way out of a poor diet, so to speak, walk our way out of the effects of a poor diet. It is, and the walking and the diet, and they'll both serve different health benefits. So everything kind of works together, and everything does something different for our general health and fitness. And when you start to put the pieces together, your overall health and fitness begin to increase, so you could be improved. So I was like to say, you could be extremely fit, but very unhealthy. You could be very unhealthy, but extremely fit. And I think that we need to strike the right balance in terms of the things we invest time in. But consistency also applies to the other aspects of health and fitness. So consistently meeting up with friends, connecting with friends, investing in friendships, connections, commitment. And what we can do there, consistently showing up for the birthday party we're invited to, or consistently not showing up, is going to have an effect on our friendship, right? And on the relationship. Consistently showing up for the hobby or pursuit that we are trying to master and make our own, whatever that is going to be. Yeah, finding the time, the mind space to focus, even if it is just 15 or 30 minutes. Usually it's 10 minutes to get started. And once we're started, we don't necessarily want to stop. But finding the time consistently, because it's that consistency over time, over a year, years, where you start to see the benefit, and also where you maintain what you have, right? Because with many things in life, the fact is really use it or lose it. And when it comes to health and fitness, there's a lot to be regained, but it's so much easier to be consistent, stay balanced and centered in some parts as other parts weather storms, because usually there's a storm in the family, or a storm in the career, or a storm in the direct living environment, but not necessarily a storm in all of them at the same time. So we can maintain consistency in all the parts while dealing with the upheaval in one of the parts. We're probably going to get a long way or a lot further in the journeys you want to embark on. And I wish I'd been more consistent through my 20s and 30s in specific things. As I think it shows character and payoff, and I also know what happened in life to throw me off the rails and off the tracks. I think that there's an important part for me to play in the lives of my children, the ones that I love, in terms of helping and supporting them in the life that they want to build for themselves. And one of the key lessons there, honestly, is how consistent he can be. In certain areas of our life and the commitments that we make. So I think learning that lesson early on probably serves us well in life, but also learning that life is going to be packed full of distractions and people with plans for their life. You better have some sort of plan for your own life, where you get caught up in what other people want for themselves. Not always a bad thing, but to really actualize ourselves and to really grow into our own. It's important to set out our own path and focus on making that a reality. So anyway, being consistent is top of mind today, because it's been another week. We're nearing the end of May, and a lot of people are going to start worrying and wondering about their summer body and their beach body. And I'm sorry to say that whatever fad, diet, workout, program, plan they're going to try to get you on, you know that your beach body and the creation of your beach body started not this January, but last year, January, right? And there's all the little changes that we talk about in how well we sleep, how well we eat, how well we move, that are going to get us into physical shape over time. And our life's health and fitness, because I'm not that interested in my beach body anymore. I think it's fine. I have no problem taking off my t-shirt. No, I did when I was a teenager, because I was embarrassed and overweight and not proud of who I was and comfortable with who I was. And some things change and fade over time. But by having been consistent now, my health and fitness journey for the last years of my life, and also be comfortable going to the beach and just sitting there with a normal, healthy, functional body that shows that in general I take care of it. And I know some people have different goals, move in different societal circles, different communities, and that's all fine. But for you and me, if you're on this channel and you're interested in general health and fitness, it's not about that beach body. It's about just being generally healthy and fit for life and the life we want to live and lead. I think it's just important to keep that in mind. We show up every day, we do a little bit of the work, and over time, the work starts paying off, and it starts showing us that we are capable and able. And as we get more capable and more able, we simply put, our body starts to change. And as our body starts to change, well, as our body starts to change, we start to notice a difference in our ability and we start to want to do more, because that's the nature of getting fit and being capable. You see it with little kids when they learn something new and they're finally able to do it. They do a lot of it and a lot of it, and it becomes more challenging. And as long as the level of challenge keeps matching the gap between their skill and their ability to improve, they just keep going. And we as adults are not so different. I know we're a bit more restrained and contained in how we engage with new ideas and new things. But we generally also enjoy doing new things, learning them, and then getting good in them and doing more of them. And there's fun in learning new skills, all right? It helps us as we go through life. But remember, this is only 30 minutes of my day. There's a whole lot of other living that goes on. And I think it's always important to call that out and for us all to remember that as much as I enjoy this, this is not life or living. This is a part of enabling me to live the kind of life that I want to live by staying fit and healthy. So it allows me to make the time investments in other things that are going to keep me happy and healthy and engaged in life. So, anyway, my path to health and fitness would be consistency in sleep, consistency in food, consistency in movement. My path to longevity is my path to fitness and health, plus consistency in connections and consistency in pursuits, and all of that blended into the mix of what we call life. Look there, it is. So I have to do a couple of specific exercises for my shoulder mobility. I just do these throughout the day, 3-4 days a week. But I figured because it's going to help me actually regain some of that mobility in my shoulder. And who knows, that book that I bought once while I was a student, Pilates on the Ball, it might come in handy. for the this is one where I always fall off the ball. The risk of injury with a ball, I'm sure, is significant. So I would not advise anyone to do the things that I'm doing unless they've been instructed by a physiotherapist to do them for their general health and fitness. But hey, there we were. Cossack squats. Oh. And up. And down. And across. And back up. And let's do some core. And as much as we haven't done that on the ball, so we're almost done with the workout. For those of you who are watching, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I appreciate that. Hope it was useful, good investment of your Saturday morning. Some time. I think it's always good to remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. After all, it's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. And the only way to get anything done, friends, really is by showing up and doing the work. So thanks for dropping by. Thanks for watching, for hitting that like button, for hitting subscribe if you have, and for joining me on this journey and for today's chat about consistency as we worked on our mobility. I'm going to go into my kitchen, make myself a cup of coffee before I go for a walk. Saturday morning, it's going to be a nice long walk. Be well, stay well, and remember, this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I'd like to feel fit, capable, and competent for living life. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow for mobility before a run. All right? Take care, friends. And remember, subscribe.